24. Black celebrities who couldn't overcome tragic illness. They were untouchable icons, singers, actors, athletes, leaders who once seemed larger than life. Yet behind the fame and fortune, 24 black celebrities faced illnesses so tragic they nearly erased the legacies they built. From hidden battles with depression to life-threatening diseases that stole their strength, these stories will shake everything you thought you knew about your favorite stars. Stay with us until the very end because some of these names will leave you in disbelief. And don't forget, support legends of Black excellence by liking, sharing, and subscribing so their stories are never forgotten. Rickey Smiley. For decades, Rickey Smiley has been a household name in comedy and radio. Born in Birmingham, Alabama in 1968, he built a career on quick-wit, hilarious prank calls and his long-running syndicated radio program, The Rickey Smiley Morning Show. Beyond comedy, he also starred in The Rickey Smiley Show and became a fixture on BET's Comic View. His gift was always the same, making people laugh, lifting spirits even on the hardest days. Yet behind the microphone and stage lights, Smiley's body has carried the heavy toll of a relentless career. Years of early mornings, late-night shows, and non-stop travel have left him battling exhaustion that is no longer possible to ignore. In recent years, fans have noticed fewer public appearances and postponed projects. Smiley himself has admitted to pulling back from the constant grind, choosing rest where he once chose hustle. Though he hasn't revealed every detail of his health, what is clear is that the price of bringing joy to millions has been steep. Fatigue, stress, and the wear of decades in entertainment have created a struggle that can't be hidden behind his trademark smile. At this stage of his life, Rickey Smiley is facing the sobering reality that even laughter has limits when the body is worn down. Yet his honesty about slowing down reminds audiences that self-care is not weakness, it is survival. His journey reflects the hidden battles entertainers often fight once the spotlight fades. Do you think entertainers should be more open about the physical and emotional costs of fame, or should they keep those struggles private? Smiley's story is one of endurance. The man who once made the world laugh is now teaching us about the courage it takes to pause, heal, and protect one's well-being. Regina King. Regina King has long been admired as one of Hollywood's most gifted actresses, earning an Academy Award for If Beale Street Could Talk and 4 Primetime Emmys across her remarkable career. From 2 and 27 in the 1980s to acclaimed roles in American Crime and Watchmen, she has captivated audiences with unmatched depth and authenticity. Yet away from the red carpets and standing ovations, King has carried a battle far heavier than any character she portrayed. The turning point came in January 2022, when her only son, Ian Alexander Jr., died by suicide at the age of 26. The tragedy shattered her world, leaving her struggling with depression and grief that felt insurmountable. For a woman celebrated for her strength and resilience, the loss exposed an invisible prison of pain that fame and accolades could never shield her from. In interviews, King has spoken of sleepless nights and moments of detachment where even daily life felt impossible to face. What kept her moving forward was the decision to seek help and lean into vulnerability rather than hiding it. Therapy time away from Hollywood and creative outlets, particularly directing, became lifelines of healing. By pouring her grief into art, she found a way to honor her son while reclaiming her voice. Do you believe public figures like Regina King should share their struggles openly to inspire others, or is it better for them to keep such battles private? Today, Regina King remains a symbol of courage. Her willingness to confront grief publicly has encouraged countless others dealing with depression and loss. While tragedy left scars, she has shown the world that strength is not about being unbreakable. It is about finding the light to keep going when darkness feels overwhelming. Viola Davis. Viola Davis is widely regarded as one of the greatest actors of her generation, with an Emmy, a Tony, and an Academy Award to her name. Her performances in Fences, The Help, and How to Get Away with Murder are celebrated for their raw intensity and truth. But what many admirers don't realize is that Davis's brilliance was forged through hardship. Born in 1965 in South Carolina and raised in poverty in Rhode Island, she grew up facing hunger, rat-infested apartments, and the constant sting of racism. Those early experiences left emotional scars that followed her into adulthood. As her career soared, those shadows of the past never fully disappeared. Even while standing on award stages, she carried the heavy burden of depression, a struggle that was difficult to reconcile with her image as a powerful, unshakable performer. She has openly admitted that therapy and self-reflection were essential in confronting the pain she long kept buried. By acknowledging her struggles, Davis helped dismantle the stigma around mental health in Hollywood. Do you think more celebrities should speak openly about depression to break the silence surrounding mental health? Today, Viola Davis embodies resilience. Rather than allowing her hardships to define her as broken, she has turned them into fuel for advocacy and artistry. Her memoir, Finding Me, revealed her most vulnerable truths, inspiring countless readers to embrace their own journeys. In her life and her work, Davis proves that greatness is not measured by perfection, but by the courage to rise above pain and transform it into power. Tisha Campbell. Tisha Campbell's infectious charm made her a beloved star of sitcoms like Martin and My Wife and Kids. She lit up screens with her comedic timing and radiant presence, but behind the laughter lay a lifelong battle that many fans never knew about. From childhood, Campbell has lived with sickle cell anemia, a chronic and often debilitating disease that affects about 1 in 365 African American births. The condition causes painful episodes as misshapen blood cells block oxygen flow, often leaving patients bedridden. Throughout her career, Campbell faced moments when pain flares were so severe she had to step away from filming. At times, even the simplest daily tasks felt like mountains to climb. Yet instead of allowing the illness to end her career, she carried on with remarkable strength, choosing to keep much of her suffering private, while continuing to entertain millions. Have you ever been surprised to learn that a celebrity you admire has been battling a hidden illness all along? Campbell has used her platform to raise awareness, speaking openly about sickle cell disease, to give hope to others living with it. She emphasizes the importance of research community support and not letting the illness strip away dreams. Her story is a testament to perseverance, not just as an actress, but as a survivor who refuses to be defined by her condition. Tisha Campbell shows us that behind every dazzling smile may lie a deeper story of resilience, courage, and triumph over pain. Queen Latifah. From the moment she burst onto the hip-hop scene in the late 1980s with her anthem Ladies First, Queen Latifah, became more than a rapper. She was a movement. Her career expanded into acting, producing, and hosting, earning her a Grammy, a Golden Globe, and an Emmy. But behind the accolades, she has quietly fought a personal struggle that has followed her since childhood: obesity. In an industry obsessed with narrow beauty standards, Latifah's body became a target of endless criticism. Tabloids speculated, commentators judged, and public opinion often overshadowed her immense talent. The pressure could have broken her, but Latifah chose another path. Rather than chasing an unattainable image, she embraced wellness, balance, and self-acceptance. She has spoken openly about fluctuating weight, body shaming, and the emotional toll of constant scrutiny, reminding fans that worth isn't measured by a number on a scale. Do you believe the entertainment industry has made progress in accepting diverse body types, or do unrealistic standards still dominate? By standing firm in her authenticity, Queen Latifah redefined beauty not only for herself, but for countless women who saw themselves in her. She championed health over perfection and self-love over shame. Today, she remains a cultural force, not just because of her artistry, but because of the unapologetic way she lives her truth. Oprah Winfrey. Oprah Winfrey is known worldwide as the Queen of Talk, a media mogul who transformed television into a platform for empowerment. With The Oprah Winfrey Show, her influence reached more than 40 million viewers each week. Yet in 2007, Oprah revealed that her sudden weight fluctuations and fatigue were not simply lifestyle issues, they were caused by thyroid disease. The diagnosis explained years of frustration, sleepless nights, and periods when she felt betrayed by her own body. For someone who had long been candid about struggles with weight, this revelation was devastating. Critics and tabloids were quick to speculate, rarely acknowledging the seriousness of a chronic hormonal disorder. Oprah admitted the emotional toll it took, confessing that she felt powerless at times to control her health. Do you think public discussions about illnesses like thyroid disease help reduce stigma, or do they sometimes invite unfair judgment instead of hiding? Oprah turned her vulnerability into strength. She encouraged viewers to listen to their bodies, seek medical advice, and prioritize well-being over societal expectations. By sharing her story, she reframed illness not as failure but as part of the human journey. Even at the peak of power, Oprah reminded the world that no one is invincible and that choosing authenticity is the greatest act of resilience. Gabrielle Union. Gabrielle Union's career has sparkled with memorable performances in Bring It On, Bad Boys 2, and Being Mary Jane. On screen, she radiates confidence, but off-screen, she endured a silent 8-year battle with endometriosis and infertility. For years, she lived with debilitating pain, irregular cycles, and exhaustion that doctors dismissed until her repeated miscarriages, 8 in total, revealed the truth. For a woman known for her strength and determination, the inability to carry a child was a heartbreak that cut deeper than any career challenge. Union has been remarkably candid about this struggle. She described the endless doctor visits, the emotional devastation of failed pregnancies, and the isolation of watching her dreams of motherhood slip away. What changed her path was the decision to pursue surrogacy, and in 2018, she and her husband, NBA legend Dwyane Wade, welcomed their daughter Kavia James. That moment turned years of suffering into triumph. Do you believe celebrities speaking openly about infertility helps break the stigma for everyday women facing the same fight? Today, Gabrielle Union uses her platform to advocate for women's reproductive health and to shine light on conditions like endometriosis that are too often ignored. Her willingness to share her scars has made her more than an actress. She is a voice of hope for countless women who have felt silenced by similar struggles. Robin Roberts. As co-anchor of Good Morning America, Robin Roberts has been a trusted face in American households for decades. Her warmth and strength on screen earned her admiration. But behind the camera, she faced not one but 2 life-threatening diagnoses. In 2007, Roberts was diagnosed with breast cancer, undergoing surgery, chemotherapy, and radiation. Just 5 years later, in 2012, she was struck with myelodysplastic syndrome, MDS, a rare bone marrow disorder. The second diagnosis was a crushing blow. Her only hope of survival was a bone marrow transplant, which she received from her sister. The procedure left her immune system dangerously fragile, forcing her into months of isolation and uncertainty. Roberts admitted there were nights she questioned if she would live to return to television. If you faced a serious illness, would you want to share your journey publicly like Roberts or keep it private? Defying the odds, she returned to GMA in 2013, not just as a broadcaster, but as a symbol of resilience. Today, she advocates tirelessly for cancer research and bone marrow donation, proving that even in life's darkest moments, courage can light the way forward. Robin Roberts' story isn't just about survival, it's about inspiring millions through vulnerability and faith. Missy Elliott. Missy Misdemeanor Elliott is more than a rapper. She's a cultural architect. From Get Her Freak On to Work, her music not only dominated charts, but reshaped the sound of a generation. Behind the scenes, she also crafted hits for stars like Aaliyah, Beyoncé, and Ciara, making her one of the most influential producers in modern music. But at the height of her career in 2008, Elliott revealed she had been diagnosed with Graves' disease, a serious autoimmune disorder that affects the thyroid. The illness nearly silenced her artistry. Elliott experienced muscle tremors, dramatic weight fluctuations, and episodes where she could not even hold a pen to write music. Once known for her explosive energy on stage, she suddenly found herself too weak to perform, retreating from the spotlight for long stretches of time. The condition has no permanent cure, forcing her to adopt a strict routine of treatment, rest, and lifestyle changes. Do you think fans truly understand the sacrifices artists make when illness forces them away from the stage? Despite the setbacks, Elliott refused to give in. She slowly rebuilt her strength, returned to performing, and in 2019 made history as the first female rapper inducted into the Songwriters Hall of Fame. Her resilience has inspired millions, proving that even when illness attacks the body, creativity and legacy remain untouchable. Debbie Allen. Debbie Allen's name is synonymous with dance choreography and artistic excellence. From fame to Broadway to directing hit TV shows like Grey's Anatomy, she has shaped American culture with her vision and talent. But by 2018, after decades of grueling rehearsals and performances, Allen's body began to betray her. She developed chronic knee pain so severe that every step felt like fire. For a dancer whose identity was movement, the diagnosis was crushing. The pain forced her to stop performing, a devastating shift for someone who once commanded stages with elegance and power. Losing mobility wasn't just physical, it was emotional, like being cut off from the language she had spoken her entire life. How do you think artists redefine themselves when their greatest gift is suddenly taken away, rather than surrender? Allen pivoted. She poured her energy into teaching, directing, and mentoring the next generation of performers. Through the Debbie Allen Dance Academy, she continued shaping the art form, proving that while the body may falter, the spirit of an artist endures. Her story is one of transformation, showing that even when illness forces change, greatness can evolve into new forms. Muhammad Ali. Muhammad Ali. The greatest was more than a boxer. He was a cultural icon, activist, and the face of resilience. With 3 heavyweight championships, his fights against Sonny Liston, Joe Frazier, and George Foreman became legendary spectacles. Yet in 1984, at just 42, Ali was diagnosed with Parkinson's disease, a progressive neurological disorder that would forever change his life. The illness began subtly: tremors in his hands, slowed speech, a stiffness foreign to the man once known for his lightning footwork. Over time, it robbed him of speed coordination and the booming voice that declared, "I am the greatest." For a man who once floated like a butterfly and stung like a bee, being trapped in a body that no longer obeyed was a cruel twist of fate. Do you believe Ali's legacy as a fighter grew stronger because of how he battled illness outside the ring? Though Parkinson's stripped him of his physical gifts, it could never touch his spirit. Ali continued to inspire, lighting the Olympic torch in 1996 with trembling hands that symbolized courage to billions. He spent the rest of his life advocating for humanitarian causes, proving that greatness isn't about avoiding struggle, it's about how you respond to it. When Ali passed in 2016, the world mourned not just a boxer, but a man who fought every battle inside and outside the ring with unshakable dignity. Toni Braxton. Toni Braxton's velvety contralto voice defined the 1990s with timeless ballads like "Unbreak My Heart" and "Breathe Again." She has sold over 70 million records worldwide and won 7 Grammy Awards. But behind the spotlight, Braxton has been living with systemic lupus erythematosus, SLE, since her diagnosis in 2008. Lupus, an autoimmune disease that attacks the body's organs, is especially common among Black women and can be life-threatening. Braxton has admitted that some days she is so fatigued she can barely get out of bed. At her lowest points, lupus caused dangerous complications with her heart and lungs, forcing her to cancel concerts and step away from the stage. The unpredictability of flare-ups left her career hanging in the balance, a terrifying reality for someone whose life revolves around performance. How would you cope if the very thing that defines your passion and career was threatened by illness? Yet Braxton has refused to let lupus silence her. With treatment, lifestyle adjustments, and sheer determination, she continues to record and perform. By speaking publicly about her condition, she has become an advocate, bringing awareness to an illness that is often misunderstood. Toni Braxton's story is not just about surviving with lupus. It's about continuing to sing, inspire, and prove that even when the body falters, the voice of a legend can remain unbroken. Nelson Mandela. Nelson Mandela's name is etched in history as the man who dismantled apartheid and became South Africa's first black president. But before the world celebrated his leadership, Mandela endured 27 years in prison, most of them on Robben Island under brutal conditions. Forced into hard labor in limestone quarries, deprived of proper food, and confined to a damp, cold cell, his health deteriorated rapidly. One of the most severe blows was contracting tuberculosis, a lung disease that thrived in the prison's harsh environment. Tuberculosis left Mandela weak, coughing, and often feverish with limited medical attention provided by the apartheid regime. For years, he carried the scars of untreated illness even after his release in 1990. Doctors later confirmed that his time in prison permanently damaged his respiratory system. Yet despite his frailty, Mandela refused to let illness or oppression silence him. Do you think Mandela's survival through illness made his message of freedom even more powerful? When he walked free at age 71, his body showed the wear of decades, but his spirit remained unbroken. He turned his suffering into strength, leading South Africa toward reconciliation. Even as tuberculosis and age continued to weaken him, Mandela's endurance became symbolic. Illness could touch his body, but never his will to fight for justice. Darryl Strawberry. Darryl Strawberry was once the golden boy of Major League Baseball. With 8 All-Star appearances, 4 World Series titles, and 335 career home runs, he thrilled fans in the 1980s and 90s as a powerhouse for the New York Mets and later the Yankees. But his brilliant career was cut short when in 1998, Strawberry was diagnosed with colon cancer. The diagnosis forced him into surgery, removing part of his colon. Just as he attempted a comeback, the cancer returned in 2000, more aggressive than before. Strawberry faced relentless treatments, radiation and hospital stays while his baseball dreams slipped away. For an athlete at the height of glory, trading stadium lights for IV drips was a crushing blow. Do you think the resilience athletes build on the field helps them fight life-threatening illnesses off the field? Beyond the physical pain, the emotional toll was staggering. Strawberry battled depression, addiction, and the loss of the game that had defined his life. Yet rather than surrender, he reinvented himself. Today, he travels as a motivational speaker, sharing his journey with cancer patients and young athletes alike. His story proves that even when illness ends a career, it doesn't have to end a purpose. Samuel L. Jackson. Samuel L. Jackson is one of Hollywood's most recognizable figures with box office hits like Pulp Fiction, Django Unchained, and The Avengers. His commanding presence and unmatched versatility have made him one of the highest-grossing actors in film history. Yet before fame, Jackson's career and life nearly ended due to a devastating struggle with drug addiction in the 1970s and 80s. While trying to make a name for himself in theater, Jackson leaned on drugs to cope with rejection and pressure. What started as an escape quickly spiraled into dependency. His breaking point came in the late 1980s when his wife and daughter discovered him passed out from an overdose. That terrifying moment forced him into rehab, where withdrawal and recovery tested his willpower in ways no film role ever could. Do you think Hollywood should provide more support for rising actors who struggle with addiction? Or is it up to the individual to find help? Shortly after leaving rehab, Jackson was offered the role of a crack addict in Spike Lee's Jungle Fever. It wasn't just acting, it was a raw reflection of his personal battle. The performance earned him critical acclaim and marked the beginning of his rise to superstardom. Today, Jackson credits his sobriety as the foundation of his success. His story is proof that sometimes the fight for life off-screen is greater than any role on it. Brian McKnight. Brian McKnight's velvet tenor has been the soundtrack of romance for over 3 decades. With classics like Back at One and Anytime, he earned 16 Grammy nominations and sold millions of records worldwide. But in 2023, the singer revealed heartbreaking news: he had been diagnosed with a rare autoimmune disease that attacks the nervous system, stripping away muscle strength and even affecting his legendary voice. The illness made high notes that once soared effortlessly suddenly unreachable. Concerts were canceled and performances became physically draining. For an artist whose identity was built around vocal mastery, the diagnosis was devastating. McKnight admitted publicly that he was unsure if he would ever sing the way he once did. How would you feel if the very talent or gift that defined your entire career was suddenly taken away by illness? Despite the uncertainty, McKnight has leaned on treatment and hope. Though the shadow of relapse lingers, he continues to connect with fans through songwriting and limited performances. His openness about his condition has sparked important conversations about rare autoimmune diseases, bringing visibility to struggles that often remain hidden. Brian McKnight's journey reminds us that even when illness alters the path, passion can still find a way forward. Tina Turner. Tina Turner, the queen of rock and roll, electrified the world with hits like What's Love Got to Do with It and Simply the Best. Her voice, energy, and resilience inspired millions, but in her later years, she faced a health battle that nearly ended her life. In 2016, Turner was diagnosed with chronic hypertension, which caused kidney failure. By 2017, doctors told her she would either live on dialysis for the rest of her life or undergo a transplant. In a remarkable act of love, her husband Erwin Bach donated one of his kidneys. The surgery was difficult, and the recovery brutal, filled with setbacks, weakness, and moments of doubt. For a woman who had already endured so much pain in her life, from an abusive marriage to rebuilding her career from scratch, this was yet another test of her strength. Do you believe true love shows itself most clearly in moments of sacrifice, like Erwin Bach giving Tina a kidney? Turner later shared in her memoir that she questioned whether she wanted to keep fighting. But her indomitable spirit won out, and she embraced her second chance at life. Though she stepped away from the stage, she spent her later years in Switzerland, living quietly, enjoying peace and reflection. Tina Turner passed away in May 2023, but her story of survival and her triumphant legacy prove that even illness cannot silence a true legend. Morgan Freeman. Morgan Freeman's voice is one of the most iconic in cinema, narrating classics like The Shawshank Redemption and March of the Penguins. His calm authority has made him a beloved presence on screen. But in 2006, at age 70, Freeman was diagnosed with lymphoma, a form of cancer that affects the lymphatic system. What he thought was exhaustion from long filming days turned out to be a life-threatening illness. Treatment meant chemotherapy that left him fatigued, thin, and at times uncertain if he could continue acting. For an actor known for his strength and composure, this was a deeply personal battle. Yet Freeman never hid his diagnosis. Instead, he spoke openly about his journey, urging others to pay attention to their bodies and seek medical care when something felt wrong. Would you want your favorite actors to be transparent about health struggles, or do you prefer they keep their battles private, against the odds? Freeman recovered and returned to acting, his voice and presence unchanged in power. Each role he has taken since feels like more than just a performance. It is a statement of resilience. Today, Freeman continues to work, proving that illness may slow the body, but cannot extinguish the spirit of an artist whose very voice is a symbol of endurance. Beyoncé. Beyoncé is an icon whose influence extends far beyond music. With more than 200 million records sold worldwide, countless awards, and an empire spanning film, fashion, and business, she has often been seen as flawless. But in 2017, after the birth of her twins Rumi and Sir Beyoncé, faced one of the darkest struggles of her life, postpartum depression. What should have been a season of joy became an exhausting battle. She admitted in interviews that she felt overwhelmed, struggling with sleepless nights and the crushing pressure of raising newborns while remaining the center of a global spotlight. The public saw glamour, but behind the scenes, Beyoncé fought suffocating negativity, doubt, and emotional exhaustion. Do you think society places unrealistic expectations on mothers, especially those in the public eye, to appear strong at all times, rather than hide? Beyoncé turned to music, movement, and therapy as outlets for healing. Albums like Lemonade and Renaissance showcased raw emotion and transformation, reflecting not just artistry, but survival. By speaking candidly about her experiences, she gave voice to millions of women worldwide who silently endure postpartum struggles. Beyoncé's courage proves that even the strongest icons can stumble, but their true greatness lies in how they rise again. Magic Johnson. Earvin "Magic" Johnson, one of the greatest basketball players in NBA history, shocked the world in 1991 when he announced he was HIV positive. At that time, HIV was widely considered a death sentence, and the stigma was crushing. Teammates hesitated to share the court, and many doubted he would live to see the next decade. But Johnson chose transparency over silence. He stepped away from basketball to focus on treatment, yet continued to serve as a public face in the fight against HIV/AIDS. His decision to speak openly helped dismantle myths and sparked conversations about prevention and treatment at a time when fear ruled public opinion. Do you think Magic Johnson's openness about his diagnosis changed how society views HIV, or was the stigma too deeply rooted to be erased quickly? With advancements in medicine and his relentless will, Johnson has lived more than 3 decades with HIV, thriving as a businessman, philanthropist, and advocate. Today, he is living proof that an HIV diagnosis does not define a person's destiny. His journey transformed tragedy into hope, saving countless lives by breaking the silence around the disease. Serena Williams. Serena Williams is one of the most dominant athletes in history, with 23 Grand Slam singles titles, 4 Olympic gold medals, and a reputation as the fiercest competitor tennis has ever seen. But in 2017, after giving birth to her daughter Olympia, Serena faced a battle that no opponent could prepare her for: a pulmonary embolism or blood clots in her lungs. Only days after her C-section, Williams suddenly struggled to breathe and nearly lost her life. She later revealed that if she hadn't insisted on medical attention, she might not have survived. The blood clots required multiple surgeries and left her bedridden for weeks, just as she was adjusting to motherhood. Alongside the physical pain came postpartum depression. A struggle, she admitted, left her feeling inadequate despite her legendary accomplishments. Do you think society truly understands the physical and emotional challenges women face after childbirth? Even world-class athletes like Serena fought back the only way she knew how, through resilience. She returned to professional tennis within months, reaching 4 Grand Slam finals as a mother. Proving strength is not just about lifting trophies, but also about surviving life's most terrifying moments. Today, she uses her platform to raise awareness about maternal health and the dangers women, especially Black women, face during childbirth. Her story shows that even the greatest champions can stumble, but true greatness lies in rising again. Wanda Sykes. Wanda Sykes, known for her razor-sharp wit and Emmy-winning comedy, has built a career on making audiences laugh while challenging social norms. But in 2011, after undergoing a breast reduction surgery, doctors discovered cancerous cells in her breast tissue. Sykes was suddenly confronted with a terrifying choice: wait and risk the cancer spreading or undergo a double mastectomy. She chose the latter, bravely facing the physical and emotional toll of losing both breasts. The recovery was difficult, and Sykes admitted she had to redefine her sense of femininity and strength. Yet, in typical Wanda fashion, she used humor to confront fear, sharing her journey openly with fans. Her honesty stripped away stigma and reminded others that cancer can touch anyone, even those who seem larger than life. Would you find comfort in hearing comedians like Wanda use humor to talk about illness? Or would you prefer a more serious approach? Today, Wanda Sykes continues to thrive, using her comedy and platform to advocate for health awareness and LGBTQ+ rights. Her story is not just about surviving breast cancer, it's about proving that even in life's darkest battles, laughter and authenticity can light the way forward. James Earl Jones. James Earl Jones is one of the most iconic voices in history, the thunderous authority behind Darth Vader in Star Wars and the regal wisdom of Mufasa in The Lion King. With a career spanning more than 6 decades, he has earned an Oscar, Tony, and Emmy, becoming a pillar of American culture. Yet behind his towering presence lies a quieter struggle. In the late 1990s, Jones was diagnosed with type 2 diabetes, a chronic illness that affects more than 37 million Americans. At first, he dismissed his symptoms as simple fatigue. But when exhaustion and weight fluctuations worsened, doctors confirmed that diabetes was the cause. Managing the disease meant constant monitoring of blood sugar lifestyle changes and facing complications that could easily derail his demanding career. For an actor who often worked long hours on stage and film sets, adjusting to this new reality was not easy. Do you think legendary actors like Jones should share more about their health struggles to inspire fans dealing with similar conditions? Jones chose transparency, using his platform to raise awareness about diabetes while continuing to work. Though the illness limited him physically, it never silenced his gift. He leaned into roles where his commanding voice carried the story, proving that even when the body falters, artistry can endure. James Earl Jones remains not just a film legend, but a living reminder that resilience is often the greatest performance of all. Stevie Wonder. Stevie Wonder's genius has shaped modern music like few others. Blind since infancy, he became a child prodigy with Motown in the 1960s and went on to sell more than 100 million records, creating timeless hits like Superstition Isn't She Lovely and I Just Called to Say I Love You. But in 2019, Wonder revealed a personal health crisis. Years of chronic kidney disease had left him in urgent need of a transplant. That December, he underwent life-saving surgery. The recovery forced him to cancel tours, step away from the spotlight, and live at a slower pace. For fans, the idea of a world without Stevie's voice was unthinkable, but for the artist himself, survival became more important than performance. How do you think fans should react when legendary performers like Stevie must step back for their health? Should we demand comebacks or respect their need for peace? Since the surgery, Wonder has re-emerged occasionally, reminding audiences that while illness may change his rhythm, it cannot silence his music. His story is a powerful reminder that even icons are human, and that true greatness lies not in endless output, but in choosing life and health above all. Stevie Wonder's voice continues to echo across generations, proof that resilience is its own kind of song. Illness does not discriminate. These 24 Black legends remind us that behind every smile, every performance, and every triumph lies a battle most never see. Some overcame, others succumbed, but all left behind stories that shake us to the core. Their lives force us to ask, should celebrities reveal their struggles to inspire the world, or should their pain remain private, away from the spotlight? At Legends of Black Excellence, we believe these stories deserve to be remembered. What do you think? Does sharing vulnerability make them stronger in our eyes, or does it take away their mystery?